If you really want to get into the real heavy stuff, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, that's not a system, that's not a law, that's not a gimmick, but I'm just telling you, the longer you worship God, the longer you preach Jesus, the longer you listen and keep your eyes on Jesus, the more He will do. The first thing you'll find out about high worship is that there's a lot of components to it, and I'm not going through all of them, but clapping your hands, even though some people will teach against it, and I've bought into that a little bit because it's been misused. That's part of high worship. Shouting is part of high worship. Dancing is part of high worship. One thing that's part of high worship that you never hear anybody talk about is that there was a recorder. You know why there was a recorder in the tabernacle of David when they were doing high worship? Because in high worship, the gifts of the Spirit show up. And prophecies are given and words of knowledge are given, and they need to be recorded because you will forget them before you walk out that door. Well, Brother Keith, I've never heard such a thing. Well, because you've never studied. And the people you're listening to haven't ever really studied. You see, that's the problem with most of what's going on online. You got all these different people and all these different beliefs. None of them are reading the Word enough to know what the Word of God says. Now, this church will move into high worship. Why? Because we have all the mechanisms of high worship in place and are proceeding in that way. But most of the Spirit-filled churches won't move into high worship. They'll never get out of where they're at right now, because one, they'll try to copy what this church and other churches do in high worship, but they'll never have the teaching, they'll never have the restoration, they'll never have the government as part of that tabernacle, and without it, you cannot have true high worship. So you see, there's a reason that for 7 years I've been teaching. There's been a reason for 7 years I've been telling people to leave. There's a reason that I've told everybody, if you can't walk in unity here, you need to find somewhere else to be. Because I'm building a house, a tabernacle, and you can't build it any other way than the way God says to build it.